5:59.
Okay.
Probably Brussels sprouts and work on this one.
We'll now call this meeting to order. If we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Present.
Commissioner Asper?
Present.
Commissioner Heinzerling?
Present.
Commissioner Lamore?
Present.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Present.
Commissioner Swartout?
Present.
Commissioner Moore?
Present.
Commissioner Levens?
Present.
Quorum present.
We will now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Lamore.
I pledge allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have our opening prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, you are the builder of all things. Please guide us in this meeting and help us come up with effective strategies that can enable us to move forward in a meaningful way. Help us to generate good plans that are practical, sustainable, and easily implemented. Guide us toward the best way to take action to accomplish these goals. Help us to tackle all of the topics we need to discuss, come up with excellent solutions, and leave this meeting inspired. In your holy name we pray this. Amen.
Amen. Now, if I could get a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as published, with the exception that under our finance matters, that item 1B be pulled and put on our next regularly scheduled meeting, September 1.
I'll second that.
Moved by Levin, supported by Huffman. Are there questions on the motion?
Is that a time-sensitive issue with being able to implement the millage rates?
We have until September 30. And one of the advantages of holding off, first of all, we told Fairview when they made their presentation 3 months ago that they would come back and present at operations and give us a chance to hear what they've done. And then that would give the board time to review before we took it up at the meeting. Because we couldn't schedule we had a hard time scheduling an operations meeting, I figured, well, let's just have the presentation in front of the full board. By moving it, and by the way, the equalization director Wolford cannot be here tonight
That's
either,
my
and I think
reason.
it's important for him to be here. So he can be here on September 1. And so this will give you a time to digest the presentation tonight, ask questions for the next couple of weeks, and then get any clarifying questions answered when Director Wolford's here on September 1.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore, my reason was that the equalization director cannot be here. The deadline's later in the month. I didn't want to put this to the 15th, I think would be the next meeting. I'd rather be on the 1st, so it's on our agenda, so it isn't the midnight hour, if that makes sense.
Now, why would he have to be here?
If we have any questions regarding the millage numbers and the implementation.
I mean, we've been doing this for a number of years, right?
Yeah, he is generally here when we do the millage increases, though, if we have questions.
Correct.
I mean, he's overseeing the millage increases. Huh?
Makes good sense to have him here.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Asper?
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzerling?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore?
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Levens?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up is approval of minutes from the August 4th meeting. If I could get a motion, please.
So moved. Waive the reading.
Moved by Lamore, supported by Swartout. Any questions, additions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Asper?
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzerling?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore?
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Levens?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We now move into our first segment of public comment. Are there citizens who wish to address the board?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Ned Berkey from Ida. Locally, this is not as exciting as last month with the Supreme Court ruling and the smoke haze, but we've had two important developments since then. The Gordie Howe Bridge is now open. They kept talking when the bridge opened about ag trade, ag trade, ag trade. Well, I don't think it's going to be any big deal on ag trade. Leamington, which is about a half hour east, is the tomato capital of Ontario. We do get a lot of our tomatoes from Leamington, but they're also grown over here all under hothouse and greenhouses. The other thing, today I went by the ethanol plant at Riga. Zealand Farm Services bought that a few years ago, and so they're working on that to open that. That will have the biggest farm impact of anything once that gets open, because they need so many bushels of corn every day, like 60,000 bushels of corn every day. So they've got to bid against Ottawa Lake, ADM, and the Andersons to get those bushels to keep the plant running. So that'll be a good thing once they get that opened up. Somebody was asking tonight, are we in a drought, or have we had enough rain? Well, rain makes grain is the headline for the Ohio State newsletter this week. Statistically, we're above normal for rainfall for the year and even for the summer, even though it doesn't feel like it. Corn yield forecasts are already out there. Michigan corn growers will have a yield meeting next Monday night in Lenawee County, and they're assessing yields now. And so we're projected in Michigan to be above normal corn yields for this year because of that. So good news for that standpoint. Other news recently, Kellogg's agreed to remove artificial dyes by the end of the year from cereals. That's a good thing. I've been telling students at the ag program at the community college, grow flowers, because the one event in the nation during the year where everything has to be natural is the Rose Parade. So a lot of those colors that you see on the floats come from flowers. And so I think flowers is going to be a giant industry in ag in the years to come. When I was a grad student at Illinois, weed seed, if you don't have the weed seed in the field on the herbicide studies, we would plant the weed seed there. It sounds stupid, but that's what you have to do. And so you have to buy, the university has to buy weed seeds. So they're going to be buying flower seed. Good news, the U.S. is lifting the ban on Mexican cattle now through Douglas, Arizona. So we still have the screwworm, but they've got, in areas where they can test that, they're going to start bringing cattle across. The ag economy, the Purdue and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange released theirs. The farmer sentiment is positive now for the first time in 3 months. The Chicago Federal District that we're in, they have an ag economist on staff. The Fed in Chicago is right across the street from the Board of Trade on LaSalle Street. We used to go there and get an update, and then we would get shredded money, because the ink used in money is hazardous waste, so you can't just landfill money. So you get a little packet, maybe it's $250 worth of shredded money. And they're projecting that farm bankruptcies, although they're up this year, so we're in the Chicago Fed District, they're still below 2020, and the benchmark was 2008. So good news there. And then this week, the Senate Farm Bill fails again in committee, and that the reason is because of SNAP benefits. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is more than 80% of the money in the Farm Bill. And so that's important to a lot of people. It has really nothing to do with farmers and ag. We have 2 USDA offices here in Monroe County, 1137 South Telegraph by the Secretary of State's office. So if we don't get a farm bill, that will impact farmers in Monroe County on a number of issues, including staffing. So they will reach an agreement. The farm bill should have been passed in 2023. Normally it's every 5 years. Amy Klobuchar, the ranking member in the Senate, she's not going to run anymore. She's now the, I think, Democrat candidate for the governor, running against the pillow guy. And then in the House, Angie Craig is the ranking member, and she's running for Amy Klobuchar's seat in the Senate. She lost in the primary to another Democrat who's running against Michelle Tafoya, the former sports announcer. So there's going to be a big turnover in the Ag Committee, which is normal. And so that'll be the exciting news watching in Ag is, does the Senate come up with something for the Farm Bill? The House has been much more proactive on legislation. The Senate has been the problem. So we're working on that. So good news locally on the bridge and Riga, and we'll hope for good news on the rest of it. So
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ned.
Hello, commissioners. Been a while. On my farm, my green beans are doing great. The peppers are doing great. Tomatoes has been a little too shady, so they're not ripening at the speed that we want. On other fronts, in Lansing, we did get the budget passed a couple months ago. I think everyone was pretty satisfied. We got a lot of good things for safety grants, et cetera, the sheriff department, and as well as the county roads program and a lot of stuff with roads. So we see a lot of construction. We did just finish up the fair. I think they said 216,000 attendees this year, which isn't a record, but it's darn close. And we have in our midst as well a very, very important person with Michelle Lavoie, who got the I think the new record in the highest small animal auction with 2 chickens and $7,800 for the 4-H'ers. There's a lot of it's so great to go to the fair and see the interaction from the community with 4-H'ers and see what they're doing and how they spend that time to sell. And I talked to a lot of people with county fairs around the state, and nobody does it like Monroe County does for our 4-H'ers. So real proud to be part of that as well. I heard from the city that they're going to be starting soon on the underpass or the rail grade separation there in Monroe by the river on Elm. So that's a great thing. It was good to be part of that and get some funding as well. And good to hear about Erie Township. I know that you guys have given, I think, some money or will be forwarding some money for that sewer project that is very vital for the school system down there as well as the community and growth and industrial growth. So barring that, I just want to say hi, and I have avoided this place for a little while, but I'm here today. So
Welcome back.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a great summer thus far. So, and looking forward to seeing what happens with Fairview as well tonight, and see what you folks do on that. So, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Alan Russell. I live in Mabee, Michigan, and I'm for sure on that. You all got a yellow folder. This is blue, but I don't think this is yellow. You got a yellow folder. I wanted you to go through that and answer some of those questions there. What I do is I go into the community, to the schools. I go to Jefferson schools, Mason and Monroe, and teach nutrition. And we're very thankful for your support to keep us going at Extension. And so if any of you have done the quiz and you have any questions on it, I can take those now if you got any questions on those. And if not, I have a answer sheet here. I'll give it to Grace and she can give it to you so you can compare your answers. But answer it first and then do this, and then you'll see how important my job is to teach nutrition to the people and the kids. And I didn't try to scare you. I have a stack of about 100 questions here. I just pulled them out. So you answer all except for number 8 is the what you would be in here for the people. Okay, any questions on that? All righty. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman and County Commissioners. I am Stephanie Kasperzak, Executive Director of MCOP in the Opportunity Center. I'm also the chairperson of the Monroe County Network on Homelessness. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you. As part of the ARPA dollars, you provided MCOP with a generator. And when we had the power outage July 3rd and we were out of power for 4 days, you saved our entire emergency food system. So I thank you for that donation. It definitely was a investment that was worthwhile. Putting on my hat for the Network on Homelessness, I'm here to talk about Fairview. Here to let you know that we have a wonderful Monroe County Network on Homelessness that is very active in our community, and many of our members are here today. We meet every month. We understand what's going on with the homelessness in Monroe County. And I also wanted to make mention that we do run a homeless management information system out of MCOP. So any data or information that you would want regarding homelessness in Monroe County, we have it. We can pull it so you can make informed decisions as you move forward on Fairview. We know that Fairview is a critical part of our continuum of care here in Monroe County for people in need, and we would hate to see us go backwards. So any information that we can provide to help support Fairview as they move into the future, hopefully with a new director coming on soon, we'll have some strategic planning and some things that we need, but definitely we have data to support homeless needs and information in Monroe County. So please, you all know where to find me. Ask, because we certainly support what Fairview provides in our community, and we wouldn't want to see Monroe County go backwards. So thank you.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Graham. I live in Newport. I'm the CEO for Monroe Community Mental Health Authority, and I'm also here tonight to speak in support of Fairview. From our work in community mental health, we know firsthand how closely housing and stability and mental health are connected. We know that having a stable and safe and supported place to live is essential to recovery and to independence. When people have nowhere to go, we know what happens. They're more likely to have crisis and rely on really expensive emergency services or cycle through our hospitals and our shelters and really cost a lot of money. So, from my perspective and from CMH's perspective, Fairview provides a really important safety net for some of our most vulnerable residents, and it gives them dignity and stability and an opportunity to move forward. We at Monroe Community Mental Health have had a long-standing relationship with Fairview. We partner very well with them. And as I echo what Stephanie said, and I also just want to say that if there's anything that CMH can do in the way of training, support, we do have a good relationship already, but we're also very willing and ready to assist in whatever we can to keep this very important community resource going to support the people who need it the most. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. I am Kalinda Thomas. I am a resident on the East End. Also a social worker at the Salvation Army Shelter. And I'm here to speak on Fairview as well. So Fairview housing is very valuable and a resource and very extension to the Salvation Army. Our mission is to simply provide individuals and families with a temporary place to stay, but to also help people move forward to their independence and stability. Fairview has also been a partner with the homeless partners that we often meet with every month. Our clients, the ones that need the mental health, they go to the mental health place and also to Fairview. And that is a place where they go and they are becoming stable and getting all of the resources that they need to be sustainable and to be here in this community. Thank you.
Are there other citizens who wish to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Under Resolution, Special Tributes and Presentation, we'll now have a presentation from the Sixth Amendment Group, Executive Director Aditi Goyal.
Good evening, everyone.
And Brandon.
Yes.
Yes.
Brandon Heath, not Aditi. Aditi is here today, though. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for inviting the Sixth Amendment Center to today's board meeting. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that coincides with my presentation as well. Firstly, I would like to applaud Monroe County's decision to undertake this timely and important independent public defender feasibility study that we conducted. It demonstrates this county leadership's commitment to ensuring that the constitutional right to counsel is effectively implemented in Monroe County. My name is Brandon Heath, and I'm an attorney with the Sixth Amendment Center, 6AC for short, and I'm joined today by Aditi Goyal, 6AC's Executive Director. This evening, I will briefly introduce 6AC and the standards and methodology that we use to conduct our evaluations, and then I'll discuss our findings and recommendations that we made. 6AC is a nonprofit organization that helps policymakers meet their obligation under the U.S. Constitution to provide effective lawyer to every indigent person facing the potential loss of liberty. Since our founding in 2013, we have assisted governments across the country, from New Hampshire to Michigan to South Dakota, in meeting their constitutional obligations. We have 3 core values, which are also listed on the screen. We are nonpartisan. The right to counsel is a constitutional right that predates America's founding, and it's a nonpartisan issue. There are just as many right to counsel issues in red states as there are in blue states, and as such, we work with policymakers across the political spectrum and in jurisdictions across the country. 2, we do not litigate or lobby. It is not our place to override the will of constituents who elected officials to make decisions. Our role is to provide independent and objective information to policymakers. And 3, we only go where we're invited. We do not provide our expert advice or evaluate systems unless the government asks us to do so. Basically, we want to help. Over the past decade, Monroe County's indigent defense system has undergone significant changes as it has, one by one, adapted to Michigan Indigent Defense Commission's 9 standards, all of which became effective in April 2025. With all the standards fully implemented, 6 months later, in November of 2025, county leadership contracted with 6AC to independently assess the current system and whether the county should establish a public defender office. The evaluation was funded through a Michigan Indigent Defense Commission grant and conducted over 7 months from November 2025 through June 2026. Our evaluation consisted of 4 parts. 1, interviews with 48 individuals representing a broad cross-section of stakeholders, including judges, law enforcement, defense attorneys, and county leadership. 2, observations of proceedings in the 1st District and 30th Circuit Courts. 3, a review of relevant law. And 4, an analysis of state and local system data. We measured the information that we gathered against standards for indigent defense and the minimum 6th Amendment constitutional requirements. The requirements are on the screen, but I'm also going to go through them as well. The basic constitutional minimum requirements of an effective indigent defense system must guarantee that every indigent person in the country receive a qualified and trained attorney who is appointed early in a case and who has the time and resources to provide an effective defense under independent oversight. Over the years and in the past, the U.S. Department of Justice has filed statements of interest in systemic litigation using these exact minimum constitutional requirements. Because we evaluate these requirements at the system level, our findings are not a criticism of the individual attorneys currently serving Monroe County. Rather, they reflect structural conditions within the system itself. 6AC has 2 overarching findings from its evaluation. The current structure is 1, insufficient to ensure quality oversight of services for every indigent defendant, and 2, insufficient to ensure financial oversight of services. And I'll briefly summarize each finding as well. Regarding the structure's insufficient quality oversight, Michigan requires every local government to deliver indigent defense services. Monroe County currently delivers services through an indigent defense office consisting of 3 employees who oversee more than 20 contracted private attorneys handling more than 3,000 criminal cases each year. Among other findings, our findings include excessive workloads and the lack of experts and investigators. For example, the 3 attorneys handling the majority of misdemeanor appointments in Montgomery County exceed nationally recognized maximum caseload standards, with 1 carrying nearly twice the recommended caseload. Investigators and experts are also rarely used despite the volume of cases handled, with many attorneys, including some that have handled hundreds of misdemeanors and dozens of felonies, never making a single request for an investigator or expert in the last 2 years.
Excuse me, did you mean to say Monroe County, or are you talking about another county?
Oh, Monroe County, my apologies.
Okay.
Sorry. Excessive caseloads and the limited access to these resources can restrict attorneys' ability to communicate with clients, investigate cases, conduct legal research, and prepare for court. These conditions raise concerns about whether attorneys consistently have time and resources necessary to provide the independent and meaningful representation contemplated by constitutional and national standards. Regarding the structure's financial oversight, this current system relies heavily on attorneys to self-report their time and billable work, without consistent standards for how that work is described or evaluated for reasonableness. As a result, the county's ability to oversee attorney billing, expenditures, and performance tied to that billing is limited. Based on these findings, 6AC recommends Monroe County seek Michigan Indigent Defense Commission grant funding to establish a new structure, a dedicated indigent defense department responsible for administering indigent defense services through a hybrid model of public defenders and private attorneys. This structure would combine a county-employed public defender division with a managed assigned counsel division that oversees private attorneys under consistent standards. Both would be supported by a central administrative division responsible for case management, billing oversight, training, and quality assurance, and all of that would be headed by an executive director responsible for overall administration of the system. This recommended structure would provide Monroe County with organizational capacity, oversight, and resources necessary to consistently deliver effective indigent defense services and to meet its constitutional obligations. Thank you all for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Levens.
Could I ask, part of the report that you provided for the county was an executive summary of your 9 main takeaways.
That's
Would
right.
you please, go through each one of them briefly? Because I think that's the sum and substance of what got us here.
Absolutely. So
It was page 4 and 5.
thank you, yes. So the first finding, and I'll go one by one, so there are 9 findings. The first finding is that Monroe County does not consistently guarantee that attorneys meet the qualification criteria in accordance with MIDC's standards. Finding 2 is that Monroe County does not effectively assess attorney training needs. This results in a lack of professional growth among newer attorneys and persistent gaps in knowledge and skills among other attorneys. Finding 3 is that Monroe County's Indigent Defense Office does not meaningfully oversee attorney performance and does not effectively seek input from or respond to complaints by criminal justice system stakeholders. Finding 4 is that Monroe County does not guarantee effective early representation to in-custody defendants due to the remote nature of arraignments, limited scope of representation, as well as a restricted access to essential information. Moving on to finding 5, Monroe County allows out-of-custody unrepresented defendants to plead guilty at arraignment without a valid waiver of the right to counsel. Out-of-custody defendants who are represented by counsel and plead guilty at arraignment are not ensured effective representation. Finding 6 is that Monroe County lacks accurate data currently necessary to measure whether attorneys have sufficient time to provide effective representation. The 7th finding is that Monroe County attorneys, particularly those providing misdemeanor representation, do carry excessive caseloads. Finding 8 is Monroe County allows attorney performance to be impacted by ineffective initial interviews, a lack of ongoing client communication, underutilization of investigators and experts, and minimal actual litigation through motions and trials. The last finding is that Monroe County lacks the fiscal accountability to ensure the efficient use of government funds.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, each one of those findings is impactful. It's important. I mean, these are the hallmarks of Gideon and all the cases from that for an indigent individual's right to counsel. But candidly, this is a bit going to fall out of our realm as it goes forward with, the system of how a better model is developed to represent folks. But the one thing that falls squarely in our lap here as the Board of Commissioners is the funding component, because that's our oversight. We're never going to be tasked with, what caseload thresholds are appropriate, what conference you go to, how many CLEs, all those wonderful things. But one thing that we are tasked with, and has been a controversy, is the fiscal accountability. And could you talk a little bit more in depth on that one? Because that was something that came to my immediate attention and has been candidly a bit of controversy here.
Absolutely. So at this point, there is over 20 independent contract attorneys that bill per case. In every single month, there's about 400 attorney vouchers that need approval and that are reviewed. At this juncture, the county has no real way of knowing, for example, what the cost of indigent defense is going to be next month, right? Because the cost of attorneys billing per case, the billing of that can be several $1,000s. It could be more than several $1,000s, depending on what the case is and what the cases are. So it's all self-reporting based on attorney billing per case. A public defender model provides some predictability with that by allowing financial controls because it's tied to fixed salary and benefits.
Commissioner Swartout?
Yeah, I'd like you to go to page 51, implementation and sample budget. I had a couple of questions about that.
Sure.
You went through and gave us an idea of the office space we'd have to do that. It looks like it's just under 8,000 feet, correct?
Yes, this is just a sample. I mean, this is a decision for the county to figure out. This is purely a sample budget.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, the point I'm getting at, if this is the recommendation, I don't think we have any space close to that in this building.
So it's the county's, again, this is just a sample to provide what it can look like. We are not familiar with the office space in Monroe County. I mean, that is the expertise of this county commissioner. That's your expertise, and that's the expertise of the individuals here, not us. And so if there are variations that happen based on the office space or the availability in the county, that is for this county to decide.
So the intent would be to have everybody in this building in the courthouse?
Well, just the public defender office. So this, just to be clear, this hybrid model does not remove the private attorneys. There will always have to be a component for private attorneys to provide representation in any system because the public defender office will have conflicts of interest, for example, even if it's conflicts of interest that might be too many cases, right? So excessive caseloads, it would move over to the private attorneys as an example. And so typically speaking, it's a public defender office that would be in the space here, whereas private attorneys can have office space even outside of Monroe County or in their own individual office space.
I just think that one thing we really need to do is put this in front of our Physical Resources Committee to find out how much space we need so that then you can apply for this funding that you're talking about, because I can't see us applying for funding if we don't have a place to do it.
I think absolutely this is something that the county needs to figure out because these are the details for the county to figure out as to what the office space requirements are. The only thing I will say about that is that a public defender office, this county might run into similar issues if the public defender office is not well resourced or funded. Simply that there needs to be office space, but you really are in the best position to make that decision. And MIDC has worked with a number of other counties with this exact same predicament that this county is in to be able to help guide that process.
Well, I only bring it up because I think 5 or 6 years ago, I think Dave Hoffman was on a committee with me and somebody else. We were looking at expansion opportunities for the building and looking at what the estimated budget is, depending on what we had to do, it would double that budget.
Well, this
so
is
it's an important thing for us to go forward, I think, to go through the Physical Resources Committee first.
I guess a follow-up to that would be, does a public defender office have to be housed in the courthouse?
No, it does not.
Okay.
No, not at all. There is no requirement that a public defender office be housed in a courthouse.
Okay.
Many, in fact, are not.
You said that this list of employees and physical square footage was just an example, right?
That's
That was
correct.
Then why include it with those numbers? Did you look at our county and say, looking at caseload and attorneys, and why use those numbers then if it's just an example? Is it supposed to give us a guideline of that's what you think we should use?
Not at all. I mean, this is a sample just to show if there's a split between a 40% versus 60% for public defender private attorney model. This county, if there is an executive director based on caseload data and accurate caseload data, might recommend it be different. It might recommend it be 30%, 70%, or 25, 75, whatever have you. right? These kinds of detailed decisions are exactly the kind of decisions that leadership for the Indigent Defense Office needs to be able to provide this county to make the informed decisions as to potentially where the office space can be or what percentage breakdown should be provided by a public defender office versus a number of private attorneys. And given that MIDC has just expanded into juvenile delinquency representation, that might even further inform this county. So it really needs the leadership of an indigent defense system with accurate data to be able to help inform you.
Okay, so you looked at our system and said we think it needs to be hybrid, but you're not the expert on how much office size, what percentage split, how many attorneys. Who would we go to for that?
That would be the leadership of the Indigent Defense Office. Okay. And moving forward, that really should be the leadership of the Indigent Defense Office. This county deserves, and the community deserves, to have accurate information that is informing these decisions, because these exact decisions that you're trying to make and that you're asking, they implicate the finances. And so for you to make fiscally accountable decisions, you have to have the information that's accurate by leadership to be able to provide that to you. And that depends on having accurate caseload data, which would require the middle part of the central administrative division to have an IT director to do that.
Okay, that clears that up, because our suggested action is to approve or not approve seeking funding with the MIDC, and it's just confusing for me. If I don't know what I'm funding, I don't know how we're seeking funding for it.
Of course.
Okay.
Commissioner Asper?
Yes, I wasn't actually interviewed, so I might have a few more questions. But some of the things you said, even though I was listening quickly, it actually sounded like there were procedural problems. If a person was allowed to plead, wouldn't that be the judge that allowed that?
Well, you know, what's interesting about this is when there, in any given system, there might be procedural issues that come up. That this is not unique to Monroe County. Many systems encounter this, right? The goal is that there is a leader of the indigent defense system to be able to catch the issue. Nobody is perfect. Judges are not perfect. Sheriffs are not perfect. Defense attorneys aren't perfect. There will always be issues regarding procedural due process rights that impact individuals. It's really the job of the indigent defense system to be able to bring it to the court and say, look, we might have a problem here. Can we help work together on solving it? And that's the kind of leadership and that's the kind of oversight that's really needed on an ongoing basis. There's a real big difference, and I hope this analogy is not, but there's a big difference between responding or reacting, say, to a fire alarm that's ringing versus reacting and responding to the smell of smoke. And the indigent defense system, when it comes to constitutional rights, due process rights, individual liberties, you want to have the leadership and you want to have a robust enough structure that is bringing these issues to the court and others on an ongoing basis so it doesn't develop to this level.
Well, I guess my concern in the whole thing is that my talking with commissioners over this period of time, I originally, when I first came in to be a commissioner, I had this idea of indigent defense, but then I researched it farther, and the more I researched it, the less it looked good, because I'm really interested that they have good defense. You can put an attorney up there who will operate for a certain amount of money, but the ones that we have are, I think, if you were to walk into the courtroom, did you actually watch them do their work and so forth? So right. How many of our hired, the ones that we use now, how many of them were you able to observe in court?
Quite a bit.
How many? Was it all of them?
So we reached out to every
three
single,
of them?
No, at least a half of them, and we reached out to every single one.
Okay, because these are people, a number of them are people that were doing indigent defense when they got peanuts. And I tend to go along with a person who was willing to do it when it wasn't, when it wasn't costing their pocket. The other things that I see as a problem, when you talk about the cost and all of this, I'm in the medical field. So we've had software forever and ever, and we know what the software is, and everybody uses it, and we use it properly. And what we found out through all of this was that was not the case in law. Mm-hmm. There's some that have this and some that have that. We could have just corrected that, but that is in the legal field, so I don't get to say anything about that. But I really think that is the biggest problem, is that that law does not have a single software system where everyone, because it's not going to matter if we end up hiring another bunch of attorneys if we don't have that single software system. And if there is a software system to be had, we could be using it right now, and we could be, that could be the oversight in terms of payments and so forth. But I am just very concerned that what I saw in indigent defense was that these people made less because they were less experienced, and that's really who you would end up with because of the fees. And I just don't want to lose having indigent people have the same kind of defense that I could afford. And so, I mean, I know these people have done some really good cases and so forth, and sat in on one. I'm not saying I watched as many as you did, but my concern isn't about making it the cheapest, although we have to make it functional, but and maybe the court the money should come down from Lansing. That's another story. But I'm just concerned that the people who will be representing the indigent medical patients that are indigent people will go down a notch in the quality of the defense. Not to put anyone down that's an attorney, but even if you go to the best school, there are just some people that do it better. So, I don't know.
Commissioner Levens?
Well, first, I want to kind of clarify a couple of things and then have a light observation. I noticed when you had your list of imperfections, it was judges and sheriffs, and that didn't include commissioners. So that was, I don't know, maybe an oversight that requires amendment. So the sum and substance of your report today is you did an investigation on how we deliver indigent representation, correct?
Correct.
And at risk of getting trapped in the weeds, we can talk about square footage and compensation and revenue, which, for your information, comes from Lansing. This isn't a county line item, we're a pass-through. Is that we're at that point now to deliver a better model requires a hybrid with an established public defender's office and recognizing conflict and whatever to have an adjunct contract, private, individual contract component to it. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And this was based on your expertise and knowledge in doing this in different places, and you stand by this report.
That's correct.
And so with that, if there's nothing further, I would make the motion to approve this report and recommend that the county should seek MIDC grant funding to establish a new independent defense delivery model that ensures the effective quality oversight and financial accountability based on the 6AC report presented tonight.
Support. Moved by Levens, supported by Lamore. Are there additional comments or questions? Commissioner Swartout?
So there's not a problem applying for grant money when we don't really have a vehicle to use it yet?
This is a grant. On our current model, 90% of it is funded through the state of Michigan. We fund about 10%, and so it's always going to be a grant. It just depends on whether they'll be agreeable to us changing the model on, that we are going to continue to receive the grant for.
Oh, so we still have to get that okay too then?
It's okay for the next year. It depends on how quickly we want to move on taking up this recommendation.
And that's one thing I'd like to make this part of our ongoing business. I've noticed since this issue has arisen, I haven't seen it mentioned once in the administrator report. I'd like to see this take priority because it's a fundamental right for folks to have proper representation in these types of matters, and I don't want it falling through the cracks and being, what do the kids nowadays say, slow walked? I don't want this slow walked. I want this attended zealously, like Gideon.
Yeah.
I agree, and I agree with Commissioner Asper. We want high-quality representation for those that can't afford it. And I did have one more question specific to finding number 8. Finding number 8 said Monroe County allows attorney performance to be impacted by ineffective initial interviews, a lack of ongoing client communication, underutilization of investigators and experts, and minimal actual litigation through motions and trials. And in the meat of your report, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was less than 1% of the indigent actually go to a trial?
That's correct.
How does that compare to people that have private representation?
Well, there's not really a way to compare that right now. I think that this is exactly the question that an oversight system, I mean, when a leader is leading an indigent defense system, this is exactly what they should be knowing, right? That's information that they need to know with their accurate caseload data on an ongoing basis. All of the information that we found, Mr. Chairman, through this, with the percentages, with the stats and everything, this is something that an indigent defense system would know on an ongoing basis. Period. And they would be able to answer these questions for you 3 months from now, 4 months from now, whenever there is somebody to be able to get that accurate information to share that.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you.
I guess my concern with the motion on the floor is one I stated earlier. If we're going to the MIDC for grant funding and they say, okay, what do you want to be funded for? We don't know where it's going to be, what the square footage is, what percentage is going to be public defense and private. Who's making those decisions? The Board of Commissioners should be making those decisions. So how are we asking for funding when we don't have those details worked out yet?
Well, and Mr. Bassani can help me on this, but it's actually a process through the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, and we work with their personnel to say that this is the model we want to look at, and then they get into the meat and potatoes of it. What is going to be the financial burden? What's going to be the cost? They're the ones that approve it. In some back and forth correspondence that's taken place in the last month, they suggested that because the 27 budget for the MIDC is already in place, that we would be wise to wait for 2028 cycle. I don't know that I agree with that, but the reasoning behind it was it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of communication back and forth. It takes a lot of working in hand with the MIDC to determine whether or not this is in the best interest of Monroe County to move to this model where you would have a public defender office, a hybrid public defender office with private counsel. So
No, I understand that. I'm saying I understand we're asking to move to the hybrid model. I'm saying who is dictating the details of the hybrid model? You're not telling me the MIDC is going to dictate to us
Yeah.
that we need to be
Yes.
70-30.
Well, the MIDC, they work in conjunction with us. And I would imagine it's negotiated.
And that's why I asked for this to be on the administrator report, so that way we have staff that's exploring all the options and particulars. So that way, when we get to the next steps, I mean, we're not going to be unique in doing this. This is, in fact, we're going to be ununique in that most municipalities our size have long passed this hurdle. Is that accurate?
That's correct. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think,
I don't want to say
Yeah.
we're going to be a franchise, but this has been done before and it's not unique.
yes, many counties, many local governments in Michigan have been in the exact position that you have been in. And
Okay,
have
maybe I'm
opted
not
for
being
that.
clear. I understand many counties have the hybrid model. I'm saying who is making the decision on the actual details of how it's funded, what the site is, how big it is, the percentage of attorneys, what they're being paid, how many employees, their salaries, their benefits. It's my understanding that that would be ultimately the Board of Commissioners' decision, yes or no?
I don't think so. I think it's through an approval process with the MIDC. And maybe you can help me with
So
that.
good.
Mr. Chairman? Okay, so this program is grant funded. We apply each year to the MIDC. We work with their staff, and then it goes to the commission, who reviews our compliance plan and cost analysis. So we have a plan. What's our plan look like? How are we going to provide legal defense services to those who are charged criminally and who are indigent? So that's our plan. How are we going to do it? Second part of that is, what's the cost to do this? And so we estimate number of hours, how many cases did we have last year, what are they trending this year? So that goes into our plan each year. Our plan year over year, since we've moved into this arrangement under the standards of the MIDC, has really been incremental change. And so to the extent that year over year there's big changes, they're fairly subtle, but we work with the MIDC regional manager and the senior staff from time to time as we're making these changes. What's different about this approach going forward is that we are changing the service delivery model. This requires more extensive involvement with the MIDC senior staff. As Sixth Amendment Center came out, they did interviews. In the grant manual, when you make this kind of a change, it involves a very similar process with the MIDC. They're going to come out. They're going to conduct their own interviews. They're going to understand, these changes, how we're going to go through this service delivery model change from what we're doing today. I think what we're looking at is a phased approach. We're not going to flip the switch and say we're brought on 10 public defenders into the office. And I think this is where we're going to have probably a couple of phases, but each year this compliance plan is modeled after the hybrid that we're talking about tonight. And to the earlier points that were made, we're never going to get away from use of private attorneys. They're used for case management, for caseload, vacancies in the public defender office, for the conflicts, for expertise. So my vision, it may be different than others, but my vision is as you build this public defender office, I think we're going to be focusing with, depending on who applies, these initial staff attorneys, defense attorneys, are going to be handling kind of the tier 1 cases, which are the not as significant charges that people are facing, and lean more on the outside private attorneys with much more experience to handle the tier 3 cases. But we've got to submit a plan to the MIDC. We'll be working with them, explaining what we're trying to change, going to get their input. They ultimately make a recommendation from senior MIDC staff to the MIDC Commission as to whether they are going to approve this change in service delivery model and approve the cost. To the earlier point, things are changing rapidly because we are now introducing juveniles into the indigent defense system. So we've yet to see those standards, what those are going to look like coming out. So this is a whole new wrinkle in this overall approach. We'll see what those deadlines look like, but I think our first approach is focus on what we already know from the feasibility study and begin working with the MIDC senior staff about changing our service delivery model. We'll get into the issues of staffing. What's that mix look like? I can't answer that question tonight, but I think this is an ongoing, it's going to be time consuming. We'll rely on some other folks as well, but it's going to be time consuming. We just need to make sure that we get it right, so when we do move in that direction, we're moving incrementally for success for the people who are going to depend on these services.
So to answer my
help, Mr.
question,
Chairman?
it sounds like we make those decisions and we present a plan to the MIDC.
Yeah, it's going to be just like any other process that we go through with grant applications. I don't care, name any grant that you want that comes through the County of Monroe doors. Staff, our departments fill out the application, comes to the board reviews it. The only difference here is that before it comes to the board, we've already had this engagement with senior MIDC staff, and we believe that what we're submitting in terms of a grant application to the MIDC Commission will be approved. I mean, we can go around the MIDC senior staff. I can tell you what's going to happen. It's going to happen in the trash can. So we are going to be working very closely with them. We're required to under the grant manual. It's clearly laid out in there.
Then I would just like to make a note that I think all commissioners should be involved in that when those ideas and plans come up. I think it'd be best for the county, not just an administrator or 1 or 2 commissioners.
This has been about 2 years in the works, so there's been plenty of opportunities for commissioners giving their input. But Commissioner Asper?
So when you were mentioning only 1% going to trial, I think around everything is probably only 5% at most, because mainly you've got these attorneys that are, I would say, lesser experienced, and so they go for the plea. I mean, if you go in the court, you're just sitting there plea after plea after plea after plea, because even people who aren't indigent cannot afford to go to trial. That's the real sad thing about this country. We don't really have the money to even get a retainer for an attorney. I see these people all the time. It's horrible. And if they don't plead, then, oh, well, we'll throw those other charges on you or something. So I'm just saying, I really feel like we're moving to where most of the people are going to be with these lesser attorneys, and only if it's something that's really serious, and probably they might even be guilty, but it's just a matter of trying to give them a good defense. I don't know. I just feel like if they would just have straightened out the billing system, I don't see how the law has not figured out a billing system like we do in medicine, where there's just codes and you boom, 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 boom. And then we wouldn't be worried about, somebody getting too much money or doing whatever. And, so the legal system itself has a problem. It's not just about who we throw out there and hire. So I guess I'm at a different area of this. But I really think we have to be ready. We can't just go, okay, well, we've decided this is what you say. This many are going to be hired, and not have the place for them. And I really would like them to be in this building, just because the more you have we've already got a jail that's out that way and whatever. I just really feel like we're not solving the real problem in the justice system.
Commissioner Levens?
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the topic, because I think we all realize what got us here, and I'm excited to hear from Jason Aaron next. But one thing I wanted to mention, looking to the expenses that Commissioner Swartout directed to us, it indicated for management positions, the salary for an executive director of $165,000, a deputy director $130,000. And I wanted to pair that in because you indicated the billing as an issue, and that's one of the two, in my opinion, the two main driving forces is quality representation and fiscal responsibility. When you did your report, were you aware of the independent contractor that billed up to $600,000 in little over a year's time?
We did receive the copy of the other report.
And that was the audit that was conducted?
That's correct, yeah.
And what in summary was your takeaway from that?
Well, we did not we're not a financial auditor. I mean, that's not our role, and so we aren't individually looking through each attorney bill to see whether it's accurate. Our take was to be able to look at the structure of the financial oversight system that exists in the county, and it does lack safeguards.
And that pairs into your item 9, which falls in our lap.
That's correct.
And it's dangerous in this line of work to ask questions you don't know the answer. I think that was L1. Was that L1?
Yeah.
Did they tell us that? But was it a little bit shocking to see that? I'll take your nod as yes. All right, I'm ready to vote your.
I just had one more comment. I guess
Well, here we go.
what I'm trying to say is, with the way the motion is worded, we're seeking funding from the MIDC, but our administrator said to seek funding, we have to have a plan in place that we think they'll approve. I have not seen that plan. I don't know what that plan is. I haven't been emailed anything or told anything. I just think that plan, before we seek funding, should be discussed with the full board. And if we're going to have the administrator make the plan, or the chairman and the vice chairman make the plan without all commissioners on the board, looking at that and agreeing to it, since we represent the entire county and not just 2 or 3 districts or a bureaucrat who's paid by us and the administrator, I would vote no on this then.
I just want to read the motion one more time. The motion to approve the Sixth Amendment Center's recommendation that Monroe County should seek MIDC grant funding to establish a new indigent defense delivery model that ensures effective oversight and fiscal accountability. That's what we're voting on. The plan is yet to be developed because Mr. Bosanic talked about it. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of interaction with the MIDC to determine which way we have to go. Is it a 70-30 split? Is it a 75-25? Those kind of things. So you can't wait. We have to work on the plan now. We have to get approval of the board to say full speed ahead. We're going to try to change our delivery model. So that's in essence what the motion is.
Right. What I'm saying, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misunderstanding him, he just stated that you have to have a plan in hand to present to them to see if you can get funding for it. I have not seen that plan. If the motion was a motion to come back to the full board with a plan to then, I'm speaking, please, I have the floor. I have the floor. Excuse me, Commissioner. If we had a motion that said we are going to create a plan as a board to take to the MIDC for funding, then that would be a fine motion. But to say, let's fund it, and I don't know what the plan is, I can't in good conscience vote yes on that.
Well, I don't have, I'll just speak for myself. I don't have the expertise to develop a plan. The experts have to develop the plan.
Who are those experts?
Well, including Mr. Bosanic and the legal community. Are there any other
We've been elected
comments?
the experts. We have the final say on that plan.
Right.
That's abdicating our duty then, if you're saying, well,
And down the
I don't know.
road, we'll be approving something else. Any other questions or comments or concerns? Commissioner Swartout.
I think Mr. Bosanic answered my questions. It's a work in process. I thought before we had to have something going in, but my understanding now is it's going to be developed over a 2 or 3 step process probably.
Yes,
Is that a good way to put it?
I agree.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Chair, as I was trying to indicate, I'd like Mr. Bosonic and the administrator reports to have that part of the ongoing, record of what is being proposed, what are the next steps, what boxes have checked, and what boxes do we need to check?
I
So I
agree.
wasn't trying to step on your speech. I was trying to answer what your question
Well,
was.
you can be a big boy and wait till I'm done talking. It's respectful.
I think we're ready. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Heinzerling,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
No.
Commissioner Levens,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Asper.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move into the presentation from the Fairview Acting Superintendent, Jason Aaron.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Jason Aaron, and I currently reside in Monroe, Michigan, and I am at the current time the interim superintendent of Fairview. It's a great honor to be able to be here and to speak to you. I'm really thankful that the spotlight has been put on Fairview in the last couple of months. I know the elephant in the room is the census has been low, and so I'm really thankful that has been brought to the light because there's a lot of things that can change. I honestly believe that Fairview in many ways is kind of like a diamond in the rough. So if you look at the paper that I passed out to the commissioners a little earlier, you can see that in 2025, we had an average of 14 residents per month. And so as of today, August the 18th, 2026, we are currently at 28 residents. We can have a total of 36. We have one room that is currently not able to be occupied, so that means 35. And so within the next roughly 3 weeks, we should be above 30. We have 3 intakes that are going to be coming up, which means it's kind of the last step to be able to get into Fairview. So we should be over 30 in the next couple of weeks. Also, right below that, you can see that this is the census, the average census since 2016. So you can see in 2016, we were at 32 roughly per month. And then once COVID came in 2020, you can kind of see that began to slope down. And it got to the point where it was 14 in 2025. And as of this year to date, January through July, we're at 19, but that curl is starting to come back up right now, as you can see with the numeric. So that is kind of some of the census data. Also, I know many of you don't know who I am, but I worked at the community center with Stephanie Kasperzak for a number of years and was the director of the youth programs. And one of the things that she instilled in me, it was in partnership, all things are possible. I probably heard that 100 times when I worked there, and I truly believe that is the case. So as you can see, there is a lot of different agencies that are represented there as far as strengthening relationships. Now, I know that maybe historically these relationships have been strong, but over the past couple of years, they may have faltered in some way. And so my goal is just to simply regain the trust of some of these agencies. As you can see, Ms. Graham mentioned that we work closely with CMH. One of the phone calls that I was on just a couple of weeks ago was having the mobile crisis unit team come out to Fairview to do a training for some of the staff to help identify what would actually be a cause to be able to reach out to the mobile crisis unit. Obviously, I've worked with Stephanie and MCOP, Salvation Army, Tamika, and Kalinda after I worked at the community center, as I was working at the community center for a number of years. So a lot of these relationships I already currently have. Also, one of the things that's really fascinating to me is that the Fairview is funded by a county millage, right? And so our target market is the county as a whole. And I was speaking to somebody the other day, and it was always fascinating to me whenever I worked at the community center that so many people outside the city of Monroe had never actually been to the community center. And so one of the things that was really important to me was to help expose this organization to the greatness that it is. I mean, there's a lot of great things going on over there. And so in many ways, I see Fairview in a very similar light. It's a great place. It's a wonderful place where people can be served and kind of stabilized and prepared for independent living. But as you can see in the County Connections, we currently have 6 out of our 28 residents that reside in areas such as Newport, Temperance, Erie, Petersburg, Ida. It's not just the city of Monroe that is serving some of these people, but honestly, all throughout the rural communities as well. And I would be more than happy to come to any of your different districts and speak, provide presentations, whatever the case may be, to give awareness to people that live in your associated communities. And then lastly here, who we are and where we're going. I don't think I have to beat the drum to say we all know that homelessness is a huge issue that exists in our city and our county. And our mission statement is to provide care and transitional shelter for people with disabilities who have become homeless. Now, one of the things that I've learned since I've been at Fairview is that this was historically called the poorhouse, right? A long, long time ago. And it was almost this communal living environment. And we're not living in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So there are definitively things that need to change with the times. However, we want to maintain the integrity of the institution at the same time. So as you can see, there are some creative solutions that we're trying to think about to kind of solve complex problems. Homelessness is not an easy issue to deal with. Substance abuse is not an easy issue to deal with. Mental health problems are not easy issues to deal with. So the goal really is to work collectively together as a group, as a community, in order to figure out solutions to these complex problems. A couple of different things that I'm just thinking about that we've been considering is, number one, evaluating all of our policies and procedures, saying, do these policies that have been here for a long period of time, do they still fit, right? Or are there areas where we can adjust those things? Also, we wanted to create a quick path to admissions, right? We know that when people are homeless, to require them to come up with all sorts of different things is really not viable. But we also want to protect our staff and our residents as well at the same time. So we want to exercise some form of wisdom as it pertains to those things. Also, we want to pursue grants. We don't want the burden of this particular location to be solely upon the backs of the taxpayers. And from my history at the community center, I was helping to manage. I was exposed to writing grants, but also managing several different grants. So that's something that is in my wheelhouse as well. If you turn to the back page, I just want to highlight a couple of things. I think that it can be very, very challenging to define success as you have so many different unique situations, different people needing different things. So how do you really define if that resident is successful? And so I've listed 3 different successful residents and their transition out. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. You can. But just in summary, you can see the first one, they were removed from Monroe Springs because they didn't really fit the criteria to be there, so they had nowhere to go. They had no income, and so we were able to help that individual get Social Security and then move on to independent living. The second person was a 20-year-old male who struggled with substance abuse. We were able to help this individual pursue his GED, and ultimately he got into an adult foster care group home, and he was there for a year, so the person before just a few months. And then lastly, a 63-year-old male who was actually a veteran, we helped to get him a primary care physician and also VA services and access to his VA benefit. And he was led to independent living. He was there for roughly 4 to 5 months. So this is just a snapshot of multiple success stories that we've had just this year. So I just wanted to give that brief overview of Fairview and talk about some of the neat things that we are doing and some of the neat things that have been done in the past, and be able to take any questions that you may have for me that I can do my best to answer.
Any questions for Jason?
I had a few questions, but go ahead, Commissioner Hoffman.
Mr. Hoffman?
No, I was just going to say, we're glad we got you. Sounds like you got her together.
Well, I appreciate
Good
that.
job for us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, Jason, you talked, is it Jason?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. You talked about possibly changing policy and guidelines. One, does that include the criteria for admittance? And just for my knowledge, what is the criteria for admittance into Fairview?
So they have to have some form of disability. Some of that is substance abuse. Like the majority of our individuals that reside in Fairview now are substance abuse. They're disabled in that way. There's also people that are, bipolar or schizophrenic, like more heavy mental health issues. We have some that have some sort of physical disability, but that's really a smaller percentage of those individuals.
What happens if someone's in the house that has substance abuse issues and they continue those actions while they're living in the house? Is there any policy for that?
So currently there is a strong no tolerance policy, right? And so obviously if you have somebody who's in the residence who's acting erratically, and actually we had this situation somewhat recently, who was using meth. Long story short, he was using meth. That's an individual whose behavior is something that you would not feel safe allowing your staff and or residents around, right? So that individual would have to go get some form of treatment before they could potentially come back. However, I think this is where there's some room, right? Like when you look at our city, I mean, there's probably 12 to 15 dispensaries, right? So if somebody tests positive for THC, is that grounds to remove them from the facility, right? And so these are some of the things to really think about and consider as we move into the future about what policies we need to adjust and which ones we need to be more strict and firm upon.
Okay, and then my last question, it says 28 residents as of 8/18/26. Just for my information, how many of those are either current Monroe County residents or their last known residents was Monroe County?
They're all Monroe County residents.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Levens?
And I'm not going to go from the very beginning to what got us here. I'm sure that you watched the YouTube of the meeting where this came up, addressing the history of where Fairview drew its origin and the fact that it's unique to Monroe, and there aren't. I don't believe there's another Fairview in the state.
One
There's
other.
one up in Midland, but
Yep.
I think it's licensed different.
No, same
I'm
one.
not sure. But you mentioned about the substance abuse, and currently testing positive for marijuana is grounds for not being admitted to Fairview.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating drug use by any means, but I am advocating recovery, and that's not serving the community. I mean, the people that are coming for this need are presenting these challenges, and it's not a resource.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that drove my earlier questions and inquiry, because I'm involved with the recovery community. I help people restore their driving privileges after they've gotten their their affairs squared away for the threshold time. I work with the courts, and I've heard things from the partners in the recovery courts that Fairview is not a partner, and then my other fellow colleagues that are in guardian conservatorship work, that Fairview, it was the same channel and we had a long telephone conversation, and I don't think I was too obnoxious. Sometimes I am.
No.
All right, you're not going to file a PPO?
No.
That's lovely. So, and we talked about this, and we had a very frank and candid conversation, and I indicated, and you mentioned it, about the partnerships, and I don't think it's equitable that there's a lot of wonderful programs out there, and I'm going to stand firm on this, I don't believe that it's fair and equitable that Monroe County homeowners are the piggy bank for every special cause. There's lots of special causes, especially when there's redundancies. And I shared with the story that when I spoke with Jerry Allen years ago, and she closed off the passport, I said, "Well, Clerk Allen, why are you not issuing passports anymore at the clerk's office?" She goes, "Well, why am I going to dedicate one of my clerks to this, duplicative effort when you can go to the post office and get your passport? I want my clerks to serve the courts and, those mandated functions." So as we spoke to, I hope, Fairview enjoys its millage, and that millage isn't set to sunset for a while. And I'm hoping during the interim, and I spoke with Stephanie from MCOP, that we explore the partners, community mental health. We have the designees there, state grants, other partnerships. I've heard people spitball the idea of possibly Fairview being a male counterpart to Paula's house that's right next door, and maybe that's some synergy. But to get into the weeds where we are, when this grant when this millage came, this wasn't approved, the millage as stated. They were asking for an increase, and that's what piqued my interest, because it was asking for a millage increase, and I looked at the numbers, and you got them up to 14, but that's been your efforts in the last month. From the end of last year to when this millage request, it was actually 10 residents a month. And that was shocking to me with the news of the needs of the homeless community, that we have a facility with vacancy. I think that speaks volumes. When there's that need, I don't think anybody is going to throw a tomato at me up here if I say that there's a need for the homeless community, correct? And it's shocking that there's a facility that's running at a third capacity. So with that, I understand that applicants are currently facing, from the folks I spoke to, 1 to 2 or longer week intake processes, and then being forced to prove a disability with documentation. I mean, what person in that critical state has a filing cabinet with them to document that? And I'm just kind of go down. What are you planning to address? An intake pathway that meets the immediate needs. Is it on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, it says create quick path admissions. And so I think that's one of the things that really needs to be adjusted, right? And to be fair to Fairview, they've been in some ways understaffed. And as I've been there, one of the first things that I've done in the last 3 weeks is provide some more staffing levels, some part-time staff, which is good on the budget. You don't have to pay benefits, but also fills shifts and allows that burden to be shared across the board. But I do think there's a lot of work that can be done as it pertains to the admissions process. I can only speak for as long as I've been there, and I know certainly that the turn time has been less than 1 to 2 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that that's never happened before, because I don't know based upon what your person said, but I have seen things turn around quicker than that.
And the next thing, does Fairview intend on publishing a standardized policy and procedures manual for its external stakeholders, so they know what Fairview is available for as a resource?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of the initial conversations that me and Mr. Bosonic and a few others had, is to have something that is very clear with all the different shelters, transitional housing that exist here. And that may already exist. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I don't think it does. That's a very clear one-page document that shows this is what this organization will take in resident-wise. This is what this organization will take in resident-wise. So that way you've got a one-pager that is very clear, that articulates what organization will take what individual. So that way anybody that's struggling can kind of look to that to have some guidance.
You can appreciate how shocking it is to me to learn that an organization that owes its origin to the 20s Dust Bowls, has been around for a long time, doesn't have these policies, to my knowledge, doesn't have a strategic plan, has just been operating subpar in the void.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, I can't speak to everything that's happened in the past, but what I do know is that whenever, like I said, when we sat down, there is a very clear 30, 60, 90-day plan. And what you have right here is kind of a 30-day plan, but just based upon the numbers, when you actually look at the history of Fairview, the residency, when you look at 2016 and probably beyond that, I know that Laura Papenhagen was there for a long time. And, you know, it seemed to be kind of a well-oiled machine to my understanding. I mean, you could see the numbers kind of speak for themselves to be in the 30s, almost at capacity. So to say that it's been totally in the tank for quite some time, I think would be unfair. But I do think historically it's been pretty successful. But as of the last couple of years, I think you're exactly right. There has to be some sort of transition to get those census numbers up.
And then the next thing, we want it to be a resource. That's what it, you know, the millage is there for. Another thing that's come to my attention from some of the other stakeholders is early discharge and kind of creating the cycle. I don't know if it's on here, because I just received this and I read it as best I could, and we've had other presentations, but are there going to be thoughts at looking to prevent early discharges and objective criteria to you know, govern maximum stays and seamless transition, that it doesn't just, I'd like to see something that's a preventative component and not just you've hit your 30 days, whatever threshold, and then you're turned out without, for lack of a better term, improvement and guardrails.
Yeah, we don't ever want to send somebody out who has nowhere to go, right? So you're right. We want to be preventative. We want to be proactive rather than reactive. And like I said, those are some of the things that I think we need to discuss and figure out in the very near future. This is something that I've really enjoyed. I don't know everything. I'm not the expert. I'm kind of coming in as an outsider, which I think in many ways provides some fresh eyes to a place that can be really, really great for our community. But no, I appreciate those thoughts, and those are things that I'll write down and kind of take back to the drawing board.
And Jason, is there a case management system in place to prevent early release, or making sure that the release is part of the transition?
Yes. So, I mean, I didn't provide the numerics here, but I went back, and from 2016 to current, don't hold me to this, there's been roughly 350 to 60 individuals who have came through the facility. Out of that, there was a graph that I read that said 66% have had successful transitions. Successful transitions would be they are emotionally stable, mentally stable, they have financial sustainability, and they have a place to go. So out of those 350 something, around 50% of those individuals got to that point. There's another 15 to 16% that they identified as a successful transition. However, those individuals were referred out simply to go stay somewhere else. They decided they wanted to go stay somewhere else. It wasn't like a bad circumstance per se. So if you look at it, 350 to 360, about 70%, that's the high end, 65 to 70% have had successful transitions. But one of the main things, and this is what was so fascinating to me, is that if you look at number 4, it says the goal is to get them independent living. For some of these people, it's providing them a primary care physician. So we have people that call and set up their primary care physician. We have people call that help them set up their CMH appointments. We have people that help them get housing and talk to the VA and get those benefits. So it is a very, and anybody who works in the mental health field, and I'm sure Stephanie and Lisa and Tamika and Kalinda, they would vouch, it's a very complicated system to navigate. And oftentimes they need somebody just to kind of mentor and walk alongside them to fulfill those things. But it would never be our desire just to simply send somebody out without a safe place to go.
Commissioner Levens.
And that was, you know, one of the things that you get to, you know, the service provided when it dipped to the lowest enrollment, when it was averaging 10, you know, beds per month beginning, you know, mid there about last year up until when it came before the board. That was the peak of the budget. So I had 2 points to this. I understand Fairview also accepts private pay. And so my first question is, how does that, to your knowledge, I know you're new, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We're here and I'm just trying to get it all out because, I mean, I intend on coming back and, you know, keeping notes on this. I mean, it's not going to, you know, fall off the radar. When it was peaking at $1.5 million as its budget down to 10 residents, I mean, that amounted, when you do the math, about $12,500 per month per person. And this isn't skilled nursing. This isn't.
Did you
know,
just say, I'm sorry to interrupt, $12,500 per month?
per person? Correct. I mean, if you have $1.5 million and you divide it by 12 and you divide that by 10, $1.5 million comes to $125,000 a month. Divided by 10 people is $12,500, per person per month for those months. It's a big number for, what was, the services available, because I'm pretty confident Fairview is not giving Fountain View level services.
I cannot speak on behalf of what Fountain View does, but I do know Fairview does a phenomenal job with caring for the needs of those residents that are in there. And I do believe that once again, this is another area, the cost sharing that exists at Fairview needs to be standardized. It's very complicated, once again. So
Where do those dollars go, do you know? If somebody is paying?
They go to our budget. So right now, I mean, based upon what I've seen, we have roughly, I think, around 800 or so K that is our millage funds, and then there's like 400,000 to 500,000 that are non-millage funds. So that is kind of the breakdown from what I've seen in the past.
I don't have any further at this time. I just ask that, we have this on our calendar sometime mid-next year to, come back for a status update and see, how it's progressing, the partnerships, the different metrics, and go from there, essentially.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Heinzerling?
I got one. Does the VA reimburse you guys for any services provided to veterans?
I'm not sure about the VA, but I do know that DHHS will pay us if there is not if the individual cannot provide any resources, about $1,000 per month.
Okay, if there's no further questions, what'll be the schedule is that on September 1st, Director Wolford will be here from the Equalization Department. We'll take this up as an action item and go from there. I really appreciate your presentation tonight, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is the payment of the August 19th, 2026 accounts payable current claims report in the amount of $1,620,607.10. Could I get a motion, please? Moved by Swartout, supported by Huffman. Any questions on the claims report? I'll turn it over to Sue, though.
Thank you. Page number 1, vendor number 10670, Advanced Drainage Systems, drain project costs paid through the Drain Commission. Vendor number 20288, Bedford Business Association, it's annual membership dues. Page number 2, vendor number 41752, DJ Conley Associates, it's boiler maintenance at the Fairview facility. Page number 3, vendor number 130902, Mercy Memorial Hospital Corporation, pre-employment testing for various departments. Vendor number 140790, Nyhart, it's the defined benefit retirement plan design projections and meetings. And on page number 5, vendor number 260040, TriTech Software Systems, it's the annual software licensing fee for dispatch software, and that's the end of my list.
Any questions for Sue? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Wenzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Levens,
No.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Asper,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzerling,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda, approval of non-claims. Letter A, check register dated August 7th, 2026 in the amount of $691,115.57 for both. So moved. Any questions on these two claims? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Give support.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there support on the motion? Swartout. For support, Levens for the motion. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Swartout,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Levens,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Asper,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzerling,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under communications, letters dated August 13, 2026, from Mr. Michael Bosanic, Administrator Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Keith Kohler, Principal Partner, Kohler Architecture, recommending the selection of contractor for museum expansion, renovation, and financing plan options for the project. I'll turn it over to Mr. Bosanic.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Included in my letter is kind of a summary of the project and then a financing plan recommendation. Also is a letter from the architect outlining what has taken place since the June 11th bidding, as well as the update to the board on June 16th and where we were able to reduce costs without really changing the image, I want to say likeness, but that's probably the wrong words, but the renderings that you saw here and kind of the overall scope of the project. And then, again, the financing gap does exist, and I've given you on page 2 of my letter 3 options to consider, and that's really the meat of where we're at tonight. We were able to reduce project costs by $455,000. It's still well above what we had presented earlier in terms of our estimates. But having noted that, the plan was to provide a financing recommendation, give you 3 options for that. Either make up the difference from general fund. Let's talk about general fund just for a moment. General fund, unassigned fund balance, which is available reserves in the general fund at the end of the end of 2025 was $42.4 million. That is 67% of the current year general fund expenditures. If you were to finance the entire shortfall out of that, it would be $38.4 million, and that would remain 60% of the general fund. A very healthy, strong position of the general fund, even with that. The second option that we're providing is financing it from the delinquent tax revolving fund. And I've given you a little outline of the delinquent tax revolving fund. It's really a self-finance mechanism. Years ago, Miller Canfield would come here as note counsel, and call it note because it's a short-term borrowing, and we would go to the market, borrow money to make the payments to the local units of government and the schools from the tax delinquencies that were out there. Over time, the fund has built up. We stopped having to borrow money for it, and so we can advance the money out of the fund, and then all the interest and penalties accrue into that fund, and we have surplus in that fund of over $12 million, so you could finance it from there. And then the third option, if you felt comfortable, was take a mix of those two and you finance it from half, and so the impact from both of those are diminished, or they're cut in half by 50%. I won't go through all the other comments that have been made by other presenters, other speakers, the other presentations that we have made to you. I think they resonate with the board in terms of this project. Really, the question for the board is, do you want to proceed with the project? If so, I would select one of those financing options. But I would be remiss, Mr. Chairman, to not have Keith Kohler, the lead architect on the project, could not be with us this evening. Mark is here, Mark Kohler. I think most of you know Mark. Mark, did I miss anything that you wanted to add?
I don't believe so. I believe our recommendation letter laid out the 2 qualified contractors on the project, and we believe you have the lowest bona fide bid. What would be a disadvantage to, say, taking the whole amount from the revolving fund, the delinquency?
There's no negative side of that. I mean, there's still ample resources in that fund. I mean, in policy 311, we lay out how the delinquent tax revolving fund is managed, and we put that policy in place a number of years ago, because one of the things that we do each year is we look at that, and do we transfer money from the surplus or the reserves into the general fund to kind of help designate for other capital expenditures. And we treat it as a one-time, because we don't always think that it's always going to be there. But there's, prior to Jesse was Kay, and now Jesse, We've got a really good financing mechanism in place for the delinquencies, and it continues to generate earnings, if you will, in the operation and the management of that fund, while still allowing this organization to make sure that local units aren't impacted in a negative way from their budgets, not knowing are they going to get their tax revenues that they need to fulfill their obligations to manage their programs. And so we're able to do that in this self mechanism, but I think we're still in good shape. You could take it all out of there, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Who's going to oversee the project? Are we going to have an outside they're an interested party, but oversee the project because so many big projects like this get pretty loose and money can be gone before you know it.
So when we took proposals to do the actual design work for the facility and lead through schematic design to bidding documents, that was a price that was provided by all of the architects, and so we selected Kohler for that. So Kohler will act as kind of the outside overseer of the project. But think of the contract is through a general contractor. But in today's day and age, I mean, years ago, when you think about general contractor, a general contractor employed many of the skilled trades within their house. They had the carpenters, they had the laborers, they could do concrete, they could do a lot of those things. Today, they call themselves general contractors, but what they're really acting as is the construction managers. And so they're really, if you went out and looked at, all the subs on this project, they're acting almost as a construction manager. So they've gone out and hired all the subs for glazing, for roofing, for block work, masonry, concrete, carpentry, cabinetry. It's all a different contractor. So that contractor is essentially acting as a construction manager. The architect is kind of watching what they're doing, shop drawings and progress meetings, and then that's my role. That's my role then as well. Pardon?
They're coming with very high standards.
Yes, we've had a series of interviews we started with the 3 low bidders, and then we eliminated one, and then we went with the 2 low bidders, and we've had, several conversations, interviews with them, clarifying. One of the things that we did, we asked them, where's your cost? Where are the costs high? What do you think? I mean, no disrespect to the architect, and they have their skill set and expertise, but we asked the contractor, is there something in this project that you feel is difficult to build, difficult to execute? If it is, tell us what that is, and is there a different method, or is there a different material could be used? And that's we gleaned that from them, issued an addendum for the 2 low bidders then. You guys priced this out, got their prices back, re-interviewed them again, and we ended up where we're at. So we feel very comfortable that the contractor that would construct this project is highly qualified, has a good track record of performing, and not going to end up in a fist fight when we get halfway through the project, which sometimes can happen.
We had a bad story with our new school up there in Dundee. We hired a contractor. He was the best, just like you're saying, top of the line. He got busy on bigger jobs, better money, so he hired to a sub, to a sub, to a sub, and we ended up having to put a new roof on that school within 3 years. Half the underground outside the facility was not put in properly. And we went back and made repairs on our time so the school board wouldn't go broke. And that's what we don't want to happen here because it's such a big project. So I don't know what your ruling is on subcontractors to a general, because the general, if he goes out there and takes his 3rd lowest bid, so he's going to make 20 grand or 50 or whatever off this contractor, and he's going to do a stub job where you're going to really have to keep your pencil sharp.
Yeah. So
we're going to have that kind of protection. Are we going to have a pretty good warranty with all these guys?
Yeah. On this project, you're going to have a general contractor that you're going to have one contract, right? It's not a construction manager setup in the sense that you have somebody that's just going to manage the project and you're going to have a contract with every contractor. This is the county having one contract with one of the low bidders. There's also other safeguards here. They're also bonded. They're providing a performance and labor bond. There'll be periodic oversights as well. It's not going to be a daily oversight, but we'll have several times weekly, depending on the stage of the work that's going on. We'll be there. We'll have.
Is Manick and Smith on board with any of this? Investigate, keeping an eye on things?
They're not involved with this project. They're not the engineers. This is the architect who's employed electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers to design the building that will be built accordingly. And the contractors bid the project based upon all that collective design work of those engineering firms to come up with this project. As Mark had indicated, it's a single contract with a general contractor. I was just saying that they're a general contractor, but they're managing the project almost like construction manager, in the sense that they're not employing a bunch of trades to go out and do the work themselves. They're hiring other subs underneath them. But to Mark's point, it's a single contractor, a general contractor that we would have a contract with, bonded for labor, material, and performance on the project. If they don't perform, there's a process that we go through, their surety company is brought in, and if they don't perform, they get another contractor in with the bond proceeds to finish the job and step in.
How much was the just roughly, the third contractor that wasn't invited to look into it?
They were,
I'm just
I don't
curious,
know,
'cause sometimes
they were
low
probably
bid isn't always the way to go.
$500,000 more. But again, it's not that they weren't, you know, they were probably a fine contractor, but we're very comfortable. Somebody's got to be low. And it's not like because they're below, they're
Yeah, but
terrible.
You don't have to take the low bid.
We don't have to, but we think that the low bid is
We want our
they're the
money's worth,
lowest
but we want the
responsible
quality
build.
too. That's all. If
They're
it
the
was my
lowest
bid, if I was in
responsible
your seat and I had
contractor.
the direction to make, I'd probably take the third guy. Third bid. And pay that little extra, then we're gonna get what we want.
I had a question.
There's a
case.
there's a
I'll rest
problem.
my
We
case.
wouldn't have any reason to select the third bidder when the lowest responsible bidder is the responsible bidder, met all the requirements, their bid should be taken.
Commissioner Moore?
Just a quick question for my recollection. Out of the 8 million that was originally budgeted, how much did the county commit to that 8 million?
We committed all of that. I mean,
All of it.
that's, so part of that, almost $1 million came from the museum legacy fund.
Yeah.
And then the rest came from the county, $6.9 million. That money then got moved into a construction fund under the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office and their due diligence have been investing those money. So we're accounting for the interest earnings on that and what we project to be through the end of this year.
So we're looking at committing roughly $10 to $10.5 million to this project when it's all said and done.
11.5.
11.5.
11.5.
Well, I'm taking out the million from the museum.
From the museum. We wish it was less. You know, we went through the process of hiring a estimator. Estimator was somewhere 8.5, maybe almost 9, but we felt that that was within an acceptable range. Go to the market, see what was happening there. Still thought we'd have been able to do the project, have a little bit of additional fund balance in the museum with the interest earnings, but it exceeded what we had hoped for, and so this is why we're here this evening, Mr. Chairman, with the financing plan and the recommendation from the architect in terms of proceeding with a particular
Mr. Chairman,
contractor.
That's part of my heartburn because we took a little bit of a leap of faith with the first 8 million. I mean, that's a big nickel. And then now, when we're this far into it, it isn't that it went over a couple 100,000, 500,000. It's a 50% cost. I mean, from 8 to 12. I mean, if I could do math, I would have been an engineer and did something useful in my life. But that's 50%, correct? And to do the next bit is asking for another 7% from our unassigned fund. That's a big commitment for what the project is, and I don't know if I'm ready to make a decision this evening on that.
How many square feet is that again?
That's what I was asking.
Maybe we should start with a whole brand-new building here.
It's about 17,000 square feet.
17,000 square feet?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what are your standards for per square foot price? You know, and I know it's difficult to give me an accurate, but ballparkish.
Well, we're not estimators. We're architects. We hired an estimator. That's why we did that. They're professionals in the industry. But I can tell you this, it's a little difficult because every job's unique.
Sure.
This is an addition to a building that's existing. It has very tight site constraints. This is a very unique site. There's very little that the contractor is going to be able to move around this building to do the work. You have streets on two sides, an alley on the other, and by the time we're done with this addition, there's going to be very little footprint left on the physical site itself. So it's a very difficult job to do. Museums are typically more per square foot as well because of the type of work that they are. They're usually a little bit higher end materials. They're the spaces that are needed are larger and more open, which increases some of the demand on the structure. So, you know, it's per square foot, these are more expensive buildings and additions to do.
Commissioner Asper.
I'm thinking, it might have been a different project, but I was thinking we also kind of were curious about having a contract that said that they needed to finish on time. Is there anything in there that makes any sort of, you know, like if it's going over and going over? Not, I mean, there are things that can be justifiable, things that are unforeseen, totally unforeseen. But is there some sort of a limit on amount of time or without a penalty of some sort or something on that order?
So you're talking about, Commissioner, liquidated damages. We did not include liquidated damages on this project. And the reason that we didn't is that we wanted to allow the contractors as much flexibility with their schedule and their manpower to be able to do the project as they saw fit. If there's liquidated damages against them, they're going to include that in their cost, whether they come to realize those or not. And so we had that discussion, we debated that, and felt that let the contractors tell us what it's going to look like to prosecute the work.
And the other thing was, I was thinking that originally there was a grant we were applying for and we were all excited about and everything. Was that like something like $3 million or something like that?
It was a
and we don't
$1
have
million.
it?
It was a $1 million grant. We did not
one.
get that. And museums and, you
No,
know,
we didn't.
even under congressionally directed earmark projects, they don't fund these.
So even our, whoever our new grant person will be, we wouldn't be able to get some funds that way. This is just a lot.
I would do that, Dawn, or set it back.
Well, it's just that I know we got to deal with parking too, because, you know, you can have a beautiful building, but I just don't know that we, you know, we've got to have people coming to it as well, and the parking thing is kind of concerning.
Commissioner Moore, did you have?
I was just going to say, I kind of echo Commissioner Levin's. I've been on the board 10 years. This would be the single largest investment we've ever made, I think, on this board at $11.5 million of taxpayer money. And a little bit of my real estate broker brain is going off and going, in the Midwest, even like medical grade buildings at the high end are $450 to $500 a square foot. Commercial starts out at about $250. At $500 a square foot, you're at $8.5 million for a brand new building. And that's the absolute highest end. I mean, anyone charging over $500 a square foot, you'd need to really do an audit on them. I don't know if maybe we table this just
I'm
at
gonna
least.
interrupt you to say the same thing again.
You just can't help yourself tonight.
Well, I asked that this be tabled.
Get him, Ned.
If he hadn't done it.
And
You know, I think it's good that we're getting this all out on the table. I personally think it's a worthy endeavor. I think it has the kind of potential to enhance the quality of life for the entire Monroe County community. If I had my preference, I would fund it out of the tax revolving fund solely, because I think if we had future financial challenges, we'd have more flexibility leaving the general fund surplus alone. So I would support this project, but obviously there's a chance that there's not support for it. But
I'm not saying I don't support it. I just would like to sit with it a little bit longer. Maybe there's some other option. It's just, that's a huge expenditure.
Even I have difficulty swallowing this pill. It is
There's gotta
quite a
be.
large sum of money to spend.
I'll be candid, I was at my limit at the 8 million, and now it comes back 50% more. I didn't, I can crunch numbers on millages. I don't have the commercial property resume of Commissioner Moore, on the square footage. But once he rattled the numbers, it does ring true to me on, the 500 versus, 3 and 4. So I just, I'd prefer this to be brought back on our second September meeting.
Commissioner Asper?
Just one more question. How much do they receive? And I realize this, is maintenance of buildings and stuff, but how much do they receive in the museum millage per year, say? I know this is...
They're maximum of 0.2 of a mil, so I'm going to say somewhere around $1.8 million, maybe almost $1.9 million.
Okay.
Every 10th is a million?
No, not a tenth.
And that's not lost on me either. I mean, they do very well on the money that they do receive from the county millage. So that's, this is nothing against the staff or the museum or how their performance is. Just personally, I wouldn't mind maybe if we tabled it to another meeting, maybe we can have some internal discussions.
I agree on that.
But I'm not saying I'm against it.
I'd rather do that and give it a chance to live so that we can get additional questions answered or look for different funding mechanisms. I kind of agree, if it's going to go that way, maybe look at the last meeting in September to revisit. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, please.
Okay. So moved by Commissioner Levens to table this until the last
Support.
meeting, supported by Moore. Any additional comments or questions?
I just think when you table something, you have to set a date for it. I think that's...
September
She
15
did.
is what I was
Oh,
saying.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
September
All right, well,
15th.
that should be in the motion.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to keep interrupting when I have the answers, just so you're aware.
I raised my hand.
Okay.
I think we're ready for roll call, please.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Levens,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Asper,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzling,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item is a letter dated August 10th,
If the
2020.
people that are leaving the meeting don't say the whole meeting, we're not going to support their projects. We're all in this together from the start to the finish.
Right, please.
I mean, this isn't transactional. Look, they're all leaving. I'm sorry, Chairman. I won't interrupt
Am I
again.
supposed to rein it in now? Is that
Yes.
what I should do?
Gavel me.
This second item is a letter dated August 10th, 2026, from Chief Deputy Mike Predmore requesting permission to apply and accept the allocation award from the Secondary Road Patrol and Traffic Accident Prevention Program fiscal year 2027 in the amount of $308,876. The budget will require a match of $532,349. The Sheriff's Office 2026 budget includes the match of $133,087.25, and the 2027 portion of $399,261.75 is requested to be included in the Sheriff's Office budget for 2027. Could I get a motion on this, please?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Swartout, supported by Huffman. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Commissioner Asper?
Yes, does this amount, since it's talking about traffic and so forth, does this include more flock cameras? Because people are just really upset with those now that they have facial recognition.
Yep. Sheriff Goodenough?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioners. No, it does not. This is a process that we've done for many, many years. The problem what you're being asked for, obviously, when we put together our 2026 budget, we forecasted the request. And because the fiscal year is split in the calendar year, we're the calendar year, that's why we're asking for this. This merely funds your secondary road patrol, referred to as 416, traffic enforcement, and the related expenses, which is fuel, patrol car, and personnel.
Any other questions for Sheriff Goodenough? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levens,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Asper,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzling,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is a letter dated August 18th, 2026, from Mr. Jason Berry, Community Planning and Engagement Director, requesting approval to submit the fiscal year 27 County Veterans Service Fund grant application through the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency in the amount of $75,585.24 to cover the approved costs between October 1, 2026 and September 30, 2027. Accepting this grant obligates the Veterans Affairs cost Center to cover $976.69 for the Veterans Coordinator General Liability Insurance, which is not allowable per grant. Per the grant, the 2026 amount of $228.82 can be funded from the current budget. 27 amount of $747.87 is requested, included in the 27 budget.
Make the motion.
Moved by Heinzerling,
Second.
supported by Asper. Questions on this motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Asper?
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzeling?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamore?
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Levens?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is consideration of amendments to the courthouse security policy number 700, allowing local bar non-secure access. Proposed amended policy number 700 with tracked changes in current policy included. Could I get a motion, please?
I don't see a problem with that.
I was wanting to ask what this entailed.
We can do a motion in a second, then we can have questions.
Second.
Moved by Levin, supported by Lamore. Mr. Bosanic, you want to explain this, or?
I think it's pretty
Sure. So the local bar has requested through the judiciary that amendments to the policy where everybody goes through screening, including visitors, the public, and it had been the local bar went through weapons screening at the main entrance to the courthouse. What this policy amendment would do is we would get a list of those members of the local bar. They would agree to compliance with the no weapons in the facility list. There's a waiver in the back. If they execute that, then we issue them a card, an ID card. They present that to the security officers, and they can come through the facility without having to go through weapons screening. Unlike our employees who are covered by violence in the workplace and no weapons in the workplace policy, this is the best we would come up with for people who are not employees of the organization. There's also a provision in the policy that any chief judge can revoke the security clearance, if you will, or the no weapons search policy of any local member of the bar. And they can do that acting on a recommendation of a security officer as well, or in including one of the bailiffs. And there's no appeal process for that. And I think that needs to be in there for adherence to the policy for everybody, or if circumstances change with an individual that would determine that that needs to be revoked. And it could be revoked, could be reinstated, but I think we need to have that in there, and that is included in there.
And these amendments were discussed and vetted by our judges, correct?
I see Michael.
Yeah, Chief Judge Bronlick and Counsel Goldsmith, we drafted them, and I think Judge Bronlick shared them with others in the judiciary. That was his role. And then we have a security committee. Judge Bronlick circulated that to those others. Ultimately, they're going to have to submit it to the State Court Administrator's Office as an amendment to the courthouse security, because each year the local security committee has to report to SCAO what's taken place and if there's any changes to their policy.
Okay, Judge Brown.
Hi, Judge Michael Brown, Chief Judge, District Court. This is common practice in most courts. Even Detroit has the same policy that we're proposing here. Matter of convenience for attorneys. I've never known an attorney of our local bar to commit a violent crime. They're vetted by the bar. I think it's a very reasonable proposal.
Would it be advantageous for us to ask the opinion on the chief law enforcement officer in the county? He's here tonight, or do they have no bearing on it at all?
I know Sheriff Goodenough responded to the security committee today and said that he had no objection to it.
Okay.
Ms. Ruka from the president of the local bar is here as well if you have any questions for her.
Any additional questions?
Well, I see in the list of prohibited items, down close to the bottom, it says noisemakers. Is there any ambiguity there? Because almost all attorneys are noisemakers.
That's every attorney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe just you, Commissioner Levens.
That's what I'm talking about. Make this fun. We make commissioner meetings fun again.
All right. I think we're ready for roll call. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Asper,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinzerling, Commissioner Lamore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Swartout,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Levens,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have no public hearings. Is there any old business the board wishes to take up? Any new business the board wishes to take up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like placed on our next meeting, a resolution Commissioner Asper mentioned about the flock cameras. I would like a resolution affirming the constitutional privacy and terminating the use of flock safety cameras and other similar mass vehicle surveillance technology in the county to get ahead of the issue that's becoming predominant, our community, other communities concerning what I consider some pretty dangerous technology, turning our county, our state, our nation into a surveillance state. So I put something together, Commissioner Heinzling and myself. I passed it to the commissioners. I don't wish it to be taken up tonight, but folks to have the next couple weeks to review it, their comments, and that this issue be put on for committee business at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Any other new business? We now move into our final segment of public comment. Are there citizens who wish to address the board?
Andy Clark, Museum Director, not here to talk about what you think I'm probably going to talk about. Just want to invite everyone to our next historical marker unveiling. It is August 30th at South Rockwood Methodist Church. It's the latest in our markers. It's at 12 p.m. Project was coordinated by the Berlin Charter Township Historical Society, and everybody's invited.
I'm going to show my ignorance. What is a marker?
Historical marker? The
Historical
big-
marker. Okay,
Sorry.
I didn't hear that part. Sorry.
I mumble sometimes.
No,
so
I have
my apology.
hard of hearing. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other citizens who wish to address the board? Seeing none, we have no announcements. We'll now move into members' time. Commissioner Asper.
Well, I'm a lifetime member of the Berlin, Society. So, and they always have a good program, and I think it's wonderful that we have these markers for our history, so our kids can see all this stuff too, and us, because some people just don't pay attention to history. But I just really appreciate each and every commissioner because they always bring a different viewpoint. And I want the people in the audience to know that we're just not arbitrary, that we want to spend the money that this is your money, and we take that very seriously. So we're not just a bunch of ogres. We just want to make sure that the money is not thrown down a black hole, that it's always spent wisely and according to what you want. So always contact us if you've got a concern.
Commissioner Moore.
Well, first, I'd like to apologize to Commissioner Levens. I was a little curt with you earlier, and I apologize for that. It may look like we don't like each other up here sometimes, but we all do get along sometimes.
Apology rejected.
Well, I wouldn't expect any less. But I do have two things to
Do
say.
you refuse or reject it? I don't know.
All my members' time is going to be Commissioner Levens. I do appreciate you passing out this resolution. It's a hot button issue. Sometimes elected officials can just kind of put their principles aside because it's not fun to be in the crosshairs, but I appreciate you giving this to us and us taking a look at you and Commissioner Heinzerling. I do appreciate that. And then I just wanted to make sure the math was correct just for Mr. Aaron. If you have $1.2 million a year and 120 residents at 10 a month, that's $10,000 a year divided by 12 months is $833 a residence. I thought you said $12,000 a residence. That sounded a little high to me. Is that the... Yeah, because we're talking about $1.2 million budget divided by 120, $10,000 a year. Divide that by 12, and you get $833 per person per month.
The budget I have for the year is $1,500,000. That was the last approximate out. I take $1.5 million. I divide that number by 12. That gives $125,000 per month. And then I divide it again by 10, and that gets me $12,500. There's not a lot that I'll stick my neck out in math, but this is one. So that's for that month. That's 12,500 per month.
No, but you need to divide that again because it's revolving 10 every month. So it's 120 people being served for $1.5 million per month. Well, if it's 1.5, it'd be about $950 a month. But that's okay. It's not that important. I just wanted to make sure we weren't giving false numbers if that seems pretty far apart. But
He's an attorney, not an accountant.
yeah, I'm a realtor, so I don't know math either.
Commissioner Sportout?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've known Jason Aaron for 5 years being on MCOP's Board of Directors, and I'm very confident he will work with the board to take it forward the best way.
Wonderful. Commissioner Heiserling?
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. That's it.
Nothing further.
We had a full plate tonight, and we're trying to do the best job we can for you folks out there. And then, sorry to say, District 2 is still not being represented. It's unfortunate
Oh, yeah, they are.
that the court system can't get this thing to an end, and that character can't walk away. So we can get on with a full board. That's it.
Vice Chairman Lamore?
Thank you, everybody, for attending and listening to our deliberation up here. Appreciate all your patience with us. And Commissioner Hoffman's correct. We are doing our best to do everything for you that is correct for this county.
Mr. Bosonic? I will pass with that.